Carnage is accepted. Cool. Alright, so player colors don't really matter until people start winning games, so Carnage is blue, Greeky is red. So spawning today here on Treasure Island. And Carnage is actually going to hate the fact that it's this map seed. He doesn't really like this tile set for some reason. Anyway, he's the blue Greek player today. And the red Celt player today is none other than our friend Kelsey, Mr. Bang Your Head, also known as Greeky. So Carnage going for his Stillhouse, working towards his a dock, I'd say. Oh no, maybe a barracks. Be interesting to see. I mean, it's CVG, so tends to often be quite heavy spear aggression early. And both civs have a counter infantry unit, so they tend to be able to rely on playing around their barracks early on, because it's a bit hard to really go wrong when you can go to the counter infantry, and Celt are probably going to need to keep making spears, obviously, if the Greek opts for Sarasophroi, because they're adding in an early range. So it's a really nice matchup. The Greek obviously probably has to add in Toxotes, and that would encourage slingers. So got a barracks going down now for Carnage, and one a little bit later for Greeky here. So Carnage finding 3 gold mines. Second hunt heading off towards the mid map, actually finding a third hunt and a 4th gold mine. Greeky doing pretty much the same, but Greeky actually with the more aggressive scout so far, and Carnage has actually said fuck this tile set. I mean, I think it looks really pretty, but at the same time I can sort of understand where he's coming from, where it can be a bit harder to tell the units from the tile set, and it is a bit rich in colour, so to speak. Like, it's sort of a bit of a trade-off with having a nice pretty tile set, is that a lot of the time it is a bit harder to play on because it's a more complex sort of background, whereas ones that are pretty much just like all white or all brown with like a little bit of a sprinkling of other colour tend to be a bit easier to play on. Anyway, got spears coming out for both players. Both players joining one another's water lines with these scouts, so they want to know for sure if there's been a dock. And you know, oftentimes you can run straight over here and check the barracks instead, but it also means that you tend to front load the damage with your scout earlier, and players often just want to see if there has been the dock commitment, because a lot of the time they can probably just try and fit it in anyway if they cut their spears and get more wood. So they need to be a little bit wary of that. 5 spears here for Carnage, 7 here for Greeky, and Greeky looking at moving out now. I think he's got up to 7. Carnage still on the 5. Yeah, get hype, get hype. I don't know, I really like this tile set, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. I sort of like all the tile sets, and I think the more the better. Just because it's just, you know, makes some more diversity in the games and the way they look. I don't know, I like more maps too. I wish I wasn't so lazy and just settle down and make a map or 2. And then just like send them into you guys. Be like, hey, check this out. And then hopefully not make it Matt Craver tier. So we've got the 8 spears here. The Greeky. Carnage going for a second town center. Greeky is just aging up now. So a little bit later with his age up. It's going to be getting the stone he needs to throw down on town center, but it is going to be a little bit slower than Carnage. Working out. Favouring Greeky, obviously, because he's actually hit the later age up. Man, Tundra with this tile set looks nice though. Like, I really think it looks like super fitting for the map. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you can't have like Snowy Arabia or something like that. That would just be weird, right? But, you know, some tile sets just look better on some maps, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so Carnage nearly finished the town center. Greeky just aging up now. Has the stone he needs for his town center. Getting some eco upgrades here. Has Carnage got any? We'll have a little look here. Carnage yet to take any eco upgrades so far. Didn't think he had. Tends to not rely on them if he can avoid it for some reason. But he does tend to actually rely on quick army upgrades. He's known for that. So Greeky with the slower age 2 town center here. Carnage now having caught up. Only... Well, actually, Carnage, yeah, is behind... Oh no, Carnage is equal on workers now. And has the faster jump on the next worker. Because he's already got the town center up. And yeah, Greeky has got the eco upgrades in his favour. Neither player has actually taken the water here. So this is really interesting because it is worth an awful lot. And if you commit to it first, you almost definitely force your opponent to follow up second. Because the longer you're on it, the more you get out of it. Although, there's a lot of diminishing returns because when the fish is all the way over here and your dock's here, it takes forever to get there, and you're better off just working your way up the shore, taking up to here, and then probably switching towards just more farms and stuff, killing half your fishing boats and leaving what's left to keep fishing the rest. So Greeky, he's got his mixed infantry composition here, so he committed to those spears. He's brought the long swordsman in just because if Carnage's infantry, similar sort of composition here because he's got spearmen, come in for a fight here. If they waste attacks on spearmen, they're not attacking down the long swordsman, and vice versa. Carnage pretty well equipped to handle this, losing a villager there, but otherwise no huge problem. His villager ahead still, and it looks like he's just making sure Greeky's not going to scout. I mean, not going to go for the dock, and Greeky's doing the exact same thing here. So this is quite common to see players of this caliber doing that sort of thing where they basically mirror one another, even on different civs, in terms of their strategy or their scouting and things like that, the macro, where it is pretty much going to be a parallel. And we've got the rangers coming down for Greeky. He's gone up to 2 barracks, got a couple of rangers, a barracks, and a stables for Carnage. So Carnage is going to have the smaller front line here, but with the Saris, he's going to be able to fight Greeky's slingers because Greeky can't access a anti-infantry ranged unit yet. He's got a counter-ranged unit to try and force down these Greek Toxotes, who are quite an expensive age 2 unit, well, for a non-cavalry unit. And yeah, the quicker Greeky can get those Toxotes down, the faster his infantry can just overwhelm Carnage's front line. But those Sarasophroi are really quick, really good counter to those slingers. So we've got this nice unit composition here. There's some spears still in the mix, so that's going to be good for Greeky because he can just send them to go and fight these Saris. Another barracks coming out for Carnage. And Greeky still on the 4 production facilities so far. A lot of villagers on this one hunt, but that's a good saturation. Wouldn't go past that, but that's a good number. 7 it was. So working counts 43 to 43, dead on. Greeky is on the water first, slightly quicker. Carnage is actually scouting his own water, so we'll have a look and see. Carnage has spotted it, so I think he's more waiting to see if Greeky goes for an early warship, because if Greeky doesn't, then at any point Carnage can just slip out his own dock here, and Greeky hasn't got his scout there obviously. He's sending around the map to try and get some watchtowers out, so smart play by Carnage in a sense, although it means that he can't have his scout scouting like greedily or aggressively, patrolling to try and defend up here or up here for instance, or try and force off Greeky's scout from building that. And Greeky committing to a second dock, so Carnage, yeah, is taking the more safe sort of player here because he's hasn't seen a warship just yet. He's going to get a watch post near the shoreline anyway, because if one comes out, he'll know it's on the way if it's rallied straight across, just because he'll have his dock probably here. And maybe he'll look at going to the water in a minute too, because he probably wouldn't want to. And we've got 52 to 50 villagers. Greeky getting up the Silver Age upgrade. And he has he got any armories yet? He's got another range. Got another barracks on the way, so he's up to 6 production facilities. Carnage looks to be up on the 5 still, but he's got double armories here, getting both his melee and his range damage upgrades. Defensive guard tower there, just to prevent any wards or longswordsmen run bys. And they must have got Carnage the scout there, did they? Can't see it anymore, so I'd say so. Carnage using his army to actually clear the hunt there because he can get a nice gather rate with all the deer not so scattered, because if you send the villager in, you don't want that to happen. And there's some druids in the mix, so not only do they heal, even in fights, they actually give a small damage boost to all the units in the range. So isn't that nice? 13 versus... Oh, where's he? I can't see now. Anyway, I think it's 10 or 15%. Greeky coming in with a little bit of spear harass now, so this is nice. Kind of just going to have to send something in to deal with this. Carnage microing out one of the villagers, but losing another. Going to lose the villager in the end. So 2 villagers down. But Greeky able to get down the spears quite quickly with the Toxotes. Thank you for the follow, I think that is. Anyway, sorry, I have an alt tab to check because it actually cuts the feed of the game for a little bit. So Greeky taking a small hit to his army for that, but that actually slows down kind of just economy a little bit. So Greeky taking a working count lead for the first time since they were aging up, 68 to 67, so it's nothing major. But Greeky being repelled again here, taking a small loss of units, and continuing to try and max out, even getting chisel. And Carnage still hasn't gone for the water, so Greeky is going to have that big boon. But Carnage can continue to take it, and he is getting his market up with this really nice travel distance, so we'll see how much that is in a second. Alright, yeah, 97, so that's pretty good. Get about 100 from shore to the back of the base. So that's really nice. About, what's that, 3 screens? Yeah. Greeky really is this nice composition now, but there's no voids in the mix yet, so it's going to be hard to try and deal with the Toxotes in a sense. The slingers, they are ranged, but they are slow as well. And the words aren't going to be counterable by the Saris. They're going to be faster than any of the Greek infantry, so the earlier you can introduce words to your composition as a Celt player, the better. If you can try and stay a little bit under in terms of your population when you go to age 3 or whatever, it's actually really helpful for the Celt, because you want to pump out the bowmen, you want to pump out the woads as soon as possible, because even though their age 2 performance is okay, their age 3 is a bit of a big power spike for them. Even though they're not a hugely cavalry oriented civ, they do actually still get their cavalry in that age, and they get these really nice units where it's a bit of a transition from being anti-range and anti-infantry to being like, you know, a ranged unit that counters infantry and infantry unit that counters range. So Greeky losing his forces there, but that's probably what he's attempting to do here. He can get some horsemen in the mix here to deal with Prodromos, because the Prodromos from Carnage is going to be a really good raiding cavalry. Got nice bonuses against buildings and against siege. So, well, the champion upgrades got nice bonuses against buildings. They got nice upgrades against siege, and they're just a really quick cavalry. So they're not very tanky. So compared to the other counter cavalry, so like the horsemen, Yeah, you rely more on your hit and runs, but the horsemen are slower, so you use that to your advantage. Horsemen mostly there to try and stop the Saris from getting on bowmen, from getting on slingers. And big fight going on now. Nice use of the cavalry, both of them together, because it stopped the horsemen just going onto the Saris. A little bit of a back and forth. Both players pretty much maxed out still. Carnage can still produce a couple of units. 82 to 81 villager population to Greeky. And it's just waiting for age 2 armory upgrades to kick in. Greeky introducing the woads, so big fight happening right now. And looks as though Greeky doesn't have a lot of a front line left at the moment, so he's going to have to back off. But this range, if they are kited well here, I mean, if they are microed well here, can get a lot of damage out on these hypers, and there just needs to be a bit of a front line here. Greeky could probably afford to actually pull the range back a little bit further than the horsemen, because there's no spears in this. There's only Prodromos. So here he's turning the fight now. Actually, he's got the woads in the mix, and there's not a lot of infantry left for Carnage on the field. So he's actually done a pretty good job with that micro when he did stop there in the end. And he's actually ward up this top side. Carnage hasn't actually ward up at all at the moment. Greeky getting all the gold mines. The only one left here. Well, the only one that he has left here probably isn't going to bother just because it's so low. But he could do it to this one because it's just about full. With that gold mine where you actually get more conservation and you just get it like ticking up over time. And the villages are inside those gold mines, so they are nice, safe and sound. But it is a 175 gold commitment, so if the gold mine's under 1,000 gold you probably wouldn't bother, but anytime it is, do it. Even if it's a gold mine, you're only going to put 2 villages on, because then your opponent can't go straight on it either. Slows him down. And yeah, Greeky with a nice raid here, getting a couple of caravans, getting a couple of villages, but Carnage does have his mixed cavalry here, his fast cavalry, so he's going to cut through all this quite quickly. Actually, I think it's just mass. Oh no, it did have a Prodromos in the mix. So 82 to 87, Greeky now 5 villages ahead. Actually, he's been raiding up on this top side, and Carnage has been forced to get some infantry up here to deal with this. So the horsemen can actually just outrun this. Try and deal some more damage to the caravans, because Carnage either has to get priests to heal them or risk just losing them all next time. So Greeky chipping them away. Gonna pick off another actually. Carnage actually just left it. Oh no, he's seen it now, so he's sending something else to come deal with it in a sec. But he's also trying to push back Greeky in the mid-map, so that horseman, I think he eventually did fall there. But Greeky 82 to Carnage 82 villages. Carnage taking a quicker age 4 here it seems, because Greeky still continuing to pump out the caravans. He's only got the 1 market, and he's got a lot of caravans in queue here. He could actually cut a couple of them out, get some woads in queue for this incoming fight, because Carnage has this big death ball of archers and they are dealing a lot of damage, but Greeky also has a nice big death ball of archers, and the Saris aren't quite here yet. Now they are, and they are going to find all these villages of Greeky, so we're going to try and put down a really aggressive gold line and block Carnage from being able to get the resources. But Carnage hasn't actually microed them onto the villages. Here we go, so here he's going to get all these kills. 84 to 82, but now it'll be 78 to 82 in a sec. So Carnage taking back the worker lead. Greeky not actually starting the gold mine at all. And Greeky continuing to fish on the water. He's got 8 fishing ships, and he's even taking all the fishing upgrades so far, so I think Kelk gets 2. He's taking both of those. And Carnage with a nice stack here behind his buildings with this mass cavalry comp. He's just got the Saris at the back. He's got some Gastras in the mix, getting some Hoplites now as well, because they are a nice tanky anti-ranged infantry, so to speak. They still are going to die quite quickly under mass bowman fight, but they aren't going to die anywhere near as slowly and as painlessly as the Hypaspis or Spearman will, while sort of fulfilling a similar role to both and just being a nice frontline unit to defend all your ranged. Carnage has a lot of Gastras in the mix here. No Peltus, but he's got plenty of Toxotes to actually make it hard just to target down the Gastras. And there is Woads in the mix now though, but the Gastras have that little bit more range, have that little bit more damage, where it makes it really hard for even the Woads to take a nice fight into them. Greeky having double walled up this, I like this. And he can actually take the top side, he's got a lot of vision on the top side. And Carnage has that age 4 advantage now over Greeky though, so he's definitely got that up his sleeve. He's all the way at 200 population basically. And Greeky doesn't really... Oh, here we go, he's got plenty of words actually. And they're incoming fast. They are 9.9 speed at the moment, so Carnage perhaps overextending here. Or perhaps he needs a few more words or some slingers, Greeky, because Carnage has this huge death ball, and Greeky is going to lose all of his bowmen pretty much free here. It's a huge amount of range on all those Gastras, and Greeky forced the way down to 130 population to Carnage's 175 at the moment, so that trade was all Carnage. Jesus Christ, old man, you're not going easy on him at all. Poor young boy. Greeky has all these ships just sitting in the water, not gathering at the moment. He could either delete them or send them to keep gathering, and he's really low on food at the moment, so he'd probably be best off actually sending them to go gather and try and sneak a dock down here, because Carnage is all up in his face, is all up in his base, taking all these houses down. So Greeky is going to have to spend wood on that, and he is going to try and get more farms out. Yeah, like I said, he's probably going to need to get a dock out here, because he needs to rely on a big food economy as a Celt. Even when you're playing it up to Bowman, until you get all the way to being on Carpentoms, you need to be able to afford words, you need to be able to afford horsemen. And in a pinch, spears or long swordsmen if you really, really need them. So, Greeky right now, still it's a pretty good economy. 87 workers, Carnage only has 75 at the moment, so he's actually cut his own eco because he's able to gather. Oh, actually, sorry, I take that back. There's been Woads stuck in the Carnage's base, so really good job here from Greeky. He's found a little entrance here, dropped Carnage down to the 70 villager mark. The Carnage does have the Hypaspis, does have the Hippocons to deal with this. The Hippocon's a little bit slower than the Prodromos, but they are beefy enough the Woads can't win trades against them, so the Prodromos are really going to be used more for a harass at this point onward, now that the horsemen are going to be quite beefy against them, and that the Woads can fight them just about as well as a spearman could. Actually probably better once they get the champion upgrade. Greeky now noticing and deleting that, so Carnage has someone over the bottom side of his base, but he does still have this here to defend, and Greeky has a lot of words here. Carnage down to 80 villagers. Well, he's gone up to 80 and then down. Gonna lose some more now. Greeky taking his age 4. More Gastras out for Carnage, continuing to get his upgrades. But the Hippocon, Hippocons and the Hypaspis here are just having to clean it up so effectively, but Greeky can continue to outrun this composition from Carnage and continue to get a couple more villager kills. 72 villagers to 84 right now, but Carnage is maxed out on population. Greeky still that 20 pop down because he hasn't got his age 4 town center just yet, so this town center is in a pretty dangerous spot. Carnage can get all these villager kills here too. But Greeky with some nice micro there, and going to be able to surround Carnage's army here, and it's going to be pretty slow for Carnage to get out of this, so Greeky able to take a really nice fight here by the look of it. Carnage's micro pushing his units in amongst the buildings, so it's a bit hard for Greeky to get straight on there, and he doesn't have any slingers in the mix here, so Carnage's force eventually falling. Greeky now even population with Carnage. And over on this top side, seems as though Carnage has, decided to send something in to raid Greeky's base. And if you can snipe this town center, this could be huge. Greeky has a lot of production going up here. That's a lot of stables. Does Carnage actually see it? No, Carnage didn't see it, so if he had have seen that, he could have actually got a lot of value out of that. He sent one more just to go and harass the market, but now he sees it a little bit too late. The Hippicons are going to have to back off here, and they're not going to be able to get the town center in time. They can clean up a couple of these caravans, though. Force Greeky to have to clean this up long enough for Carnage to max out again. Village accounts, we're looking at 73 to Greeky, 89 to Carnage at the moment. So he sent these Hippicons all the way through Carnage's, through Greeky's base, split them up really well here to get a lot of exposure to villagers. Picked off about 5 or 6. Greeky did get the Age 4 town center up, but he's lost a lot of eco units behind this, down to 65 villagers. Carnage up to 89 actually, so we're seeing a bit of a reversal in the village accounts than what we probably thought. So a lot of words here, a couple of horsemen in the mix, but they're not champion yet, so that's going to hurt Greeky because, actually not in that instance. Sorry, take that back. But he needs to get some Carpentoms here. The Hippicons are going to wear down the town center. So Greeky back down to 180 max population, and Carnage wedged all these Gastrophetes all the way back here and get out a lot of damage. The Carpentom's not champion yet, so they're not actually able to deal all the lovely AoE damage that you really rely on. And there's not enough of a front line for them, so they're not really able to get off any good damage. Greeky, all of his caravans stopped at the moment. He needs to rally them onto the next town center. He's not gathering any of the gold, and he only has 3 gold gatherers at the moment, so he desperately needs to rally all these caravans straight onto his next most distant town center now. And Carnage sending in the Prodromos over the other side of his base right now. So there's a lot of idle villagers here at the moment for Greeky. He's actually just noticed now, all these caravans, but he's a little bit wary, even though leaving them here is a bit dangerous because the town centers are going to get taken down, and he hasn't got any units up there to deal with that. And right now there's this big wall of Gastrophetes moving on up. They've got that lovely ranged advantage, so Greeky needs to take the fight. Oh, and GG! He throws in the tower. Carnage with a really nice fight there at the end. Good multi-pronged harass. Good use of this fight over here to buy himself a bit of breathing room. And well, not breathing room, but a bit of a channel here into his opponent's base where he's uncontested for a bit, and he just seemed to hit that twice and you get a lot of value out of that. Greeky saying he needs more practice with the Celts, so he needs to become Kelty. Carnage getting one more eco tech over his opponent. Well, one more tech over his opponent there in the end. My nose is itchy for some reason. So Carnage actually finishing up a lot stronger economically in the end.